Hi guys, Dave Pinson here, Philippine Bible Ministry. Oh wait, it's Christmas time. Let me change my shirt. We're going to talk about something today about Christmas. Hang on. There we go. There you go. Do you like that? I got lots of. They used to call me Mr. Christmas back in the day, in my family. Um, anyway, I love Christmas. And yes, I know Snoopy's not real, and Santa's not real, right? But Linus did tell us the true meaning of Christmas. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown. Anyway, so today I want to talk about Daniel and the Magi. I did a study last night, and as I was prepared, this has been in my heart and my mind for a long time. It's one of the things I've been chewing on actually for about 10 years or longer, and it all came out in it. I was impressed by my own study, which is probably not a good thing. But anyway, let me just open this up for you guys and see what you think about it. So Daniel was a magi. Daniel was a wise man. They call him, and they're from Persia. They're from Babylonian. They're from Chaldea area. They actually called him all kinds of names. Look it up. And the interesting thing about the history of the Magi, the history of these people, they have other names. I think the Kasadim and all these things. You can look it up. But nobody agrees because it's like a mystery. Like some people say, well, they were Zoroasters and they were religious. No, they were against Zoroaster, and they were this and they were that, and they were priests and they had their own religion. No, they were for hire astrologers. It's a mystery, which is cool because it is a mystery. And here's the mysterious thing: they lasted for 500 and some years, all the way from the time of Daniel until Jesus was born. They were known and they were from the same area, even though the kingdoms, like Daniel, went through what, five kings and three empires, right? Because it started with the Babylonians. There was Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar, and then I forgot the rest. And then there was the Medes, right? And Darius, and I forgot all of them. I had it written down somewhere, but look it up. So it was the Medes and the Persians, right? And the Medo-Persian Empire, and then I don't know if it became the Persian Empire. King Ahasuerus is in there. He has another name, Artaxerxes, same guy. So Daniel will live through a bunch of this, right? So he actually became the leader of the Magi. It says in Daniel that he became the chief administrator. And of course, they tried to get rid of him a couple of times because people are jealous and they're not all godly people. But I wonder about that. So I'm like, well, who are the Magi? Well, that's who they were. They were these people, these wise men in the Babylonian days, right? But what happened? So if you read the book of Daniel, you get to chapter 12. This is really cool. So just a minute. I want you to chew on this now. This is a little speculative, I know that. But I think it makes sense to me. It might not make sense to you, but that's okay. That's my brain doesn't make sense to a lot of people. You should try it from inside here instead of watching. Um, so here's what happened. In Daniel 12, he's telling a prophecy, and the prophecy is about the last day. The prophecy is about the end of time. The prophecy about the last day. It says, seal this up until that time. Seal it up, right? And so all my people have other ideas. Well, that was sealed up until the revelation, and now it's been opened. No, because it's a Daniel. You seal up your prophecy. It didn't say you seal up John's prophecy. So let's just be logical for me. I know it's hard to do, and I know it might not seem like I'm a logical person, but I believe that I am. I might not be right. I might be way off with my thoughts, but I believe that they follow a logical sequence of thought, even though a lot of people might not think so. Right? So the logical sequence of thought is if Daniel had a prophecy that was sealed up, it would have to be open one day. That's what it means to me. I mean, that's logical. Just using language as it's written in a normal way without trying to twist it like they've done with a lot of Daniel, which I'm not going to get into that. But let's just look at this one. So seal it up until that time, right? Here's what I believe. Let's get into this for a minute. I believe that was the idea of when Jesus came. How was that last day? So first of all, I can tell you that in a real short version. That was the last day of the old covenant. Jesus said, I've come here to judge Israel. I didn't come to judge the world, but he did say, I came to judge Israel. And he says in Matthew 24, they would be destroyed, wiped out. That's the end of the covenant. The temple's gone. There's no more. The old covenant's gone. The last day. We're in the last days in those days is what they said. We're in the last days. A day is not 1,000 years. I already talked about that. To the Lord, you and I are not the Lord. The people the people who lived in the first century are not the Lord. So a day is a day to them, not 1,000 years, right? So let's not be crazy here with our thoughts and our words, right? So in the last day when Jesus came, the last day of the old covenant, the Old Testament, it would be revealed. So what happened? So for 500 years, these magi kept this writing or whatever it is, this scroll from Daniel. And somewhere in there, I believe it says something about a star. Because I want you to think this through. Have you ever thought about this? We saw a star, and so we've come to worship the King. What? So, wait a minute. Does the star talk to you? It just started. Then we saw a star, and then we got out our little. We looked real close, and we saw these little words. The King of the Jews is born. No, the star didn't talk. All right. What is the star? I'm not going to talk about that. I've already talked about that. I believe it was a miraculous thing hovered in the air, not up in outer space. And I think that this common reading of Scripture will pretty much, we'll get to that. So they see this star that Daniel had prophesied. Because Daniel was a prophet. And that's part of the thing that was sealed up. This is sealed up to the last day. So we don't find it in the book of Daniel. We don't find it anywhere in the Old Testament. We don't find it anywhere. Only the Magi have it. Or had it. I don't know what happened. So they see the star, whatever it is, it's different. There's something about it. And whoever these people are, now not all of them, because the Magi, like I say, look it up. They're not all the same. They're not homogeneous. They're not like, we are the Magi, we did this. No, there was different people called the Magi. But I believe there was a remnant, just like there's a remnant today of the church, just like there's always been a remnant, of the Magi that were followers of Daniel's teachings. And I believe that those guys, whoever they were, they saw the star, and then they opened the scroll. It's time to open the scroll. And the scroll says, follow the star, because the King of the Jews is to be born. And that's all. I don't know what else it said in there. Did it talk about how he's the Messiah? And da-da-da-da-da? Is that what they meant? I don't know. We don't know. Scripture doesn't say so. I'm not going to speculate past that, but I think this is good. Because this actually is the only thing that makes sense to me. Because why would you follow a star and then say the King of the Jews is born? Why would you say that? Unless you had some kind of knowledge, right? These are men of knowledge. And I believe the knowledge came from Daniel. To me, that's the most logical explanation, right? And then, so without getting into the details of following the star, because it was 800 or 900 miles. So it took them anywhere from 4 months, and some people say up to 2 years. Why do they say up to 2 years? Because when King Herod found out about it, and they asked him, it says right there that he told them when they saw the star. In other words, when was he born? Because when the star appeared was when he was born. Right? So they didn't appear in the manger. I'm sorry to blow up your story. They didn't appear in the manger. They came something like 4 months to 2 years later. Because why do you think then King Herod went and killed all the babies born that were 2 years and younger? He was trying to cover all the bases. So maybe a year and a half or something, whatever it was. But it wasn't. They weren't in the manger. And also, spoiler alert, there weren't 3 of them. Maybe there were. We don't know how many there were. So this whole thing where they name them, they give them names. I forgot their names. I don't even pay attention to that stuff. That's a legend. That's a story somebody made up that's been around for 1,000 years. So because it's been around for 1,000 years, well, that's who they were. This is their names. There's 3 of them. Gaspar, and that's just made up, guys. That's not real. I know it's in the Nativity story, so that doesn't make it real because it's in a movie. So we don't know how many there were. There were 3 gifts. Right. Also, when they traveled, it wasn't like 3 camels and 1 camel carrying the stuff, and these guys are riding. But because you wouldn't travel like that in those, it was way too dangerous. Too many bandits and thieves, and they would kill you and take your stuff. So they had a large retinue with them. They had servants. They had food. They had all kinds of stuff. Right. So probably I don't know how many camels. So that's why it might have taken them a year and a half. If you just went straight on camel, I looked it up and they said take about 4 months. But if you have all this stuff with you and you have to stop and camp, and maybe somebody got sick, they had to stay, maybe it took them a year. Right? So they're traveling. We don't know how many, I don't know how many. Maybe there were 3, maybe there were 10, maybe there were 5, maybe there were 2. It doesn't matter how many there were. But the Magi came, right? And they followed the star. So just to give you the rest of the story, because I've already given the cool part about Daniel and the wise men. So they follow the star, and then it takes them to Jerusalem. Or it doesn't really say, it says they followed the star, and then it says, and then they went to Jerusalem. It doesn't say the star led them to Jerusalem, but maybe it did. Which is, once again, the reason I think it was a miraculous thing, not a thing in the sky, because they don't move around like that. Because then it disappeared, and then it appeared again when they left. Like, I don't know, now it's over here, so it's not a real star. It's like it could be an angel, but it's something in the sky that they can follow. That went over a house, it hung over a house, so it's not a regular star, it's a miracle. You can't get over it. God produces miracles. So they go to Jerusalem. Why? Maybe they followed the star there. Maybe, or maybe they went to Jerusalem because they already know that's the center of the kingdom. That's where the palace was. That's where Herod lived. That's where the kingdom was centered in Jerusalem. Right? The kingdom of Judah was centered in Jerusalem. So they went there, And they said, "Have you heard about the new king, the baby that was born, the new king? He was born some months ago." And, no, no. And then Herod hears about it. You know the rest of the story. He calls him in and says, "I'll worship him." And instead, he tried to kill him. So, and then they showed up at the house, not in the manger. Some months later, and he was still there. For we don't know why, but for some reason, maybe Joseph was out doing carpentry, to feed the family. And maybe Joseph was from Bethlehem. That's why he went back there. So maybe he was staying with family. We don't know. But they were in a house, right? And they came with their gifts, right? And then they left, and they didn't go back to Herod because they were already knew that Herod was bad news. I think it says they were forewarned too. So maybe an angel spoke to them. And the whole thing, I could be wrong about Daniel. It could just be an angel spoke to them and they went. That could be it. But I think since they were magi and they came from the same place Daniel, to me, and it's the only thing that makes sense to me when it says, "I will open it up." It doesn't make sense that then he opens it up through another prophet. That to me, that's ridiculous. Because he tells Daniel to seal up his prophecy, right? So unless John in the Revelation or somebody else, the other New Testament writers actually found his prophecy somehow, and the Magi brought it with them, it makes more sense that they were from Daniel's interesting stuff. And then they left. They went to Egypt. So you know the rest of the story. So now you know the story of Daniel and the Magi. I hope it makes sense to you guys. And if not, that's okay. But I still think it's fascinating, right? Because it's one of those things we don't really know. But I do know there may not have been three of them. We certainly don't know their name. They showed up months later, and they weren't in the manger. So sorry to blow your story, but the Magi, Jesus. Thank you. Merry Christmas. God bless you guys. Ta-ta.